In previous videos on this channel, I've spoken about some of the ways that I've made money, and I've also shared some of the lessons that I've learned from these endeavors. However, one topic that I've not spoken about that much are my failures. Today, I thought it would be interesting to share all of my business ideas that have gone horribly wrong and also share the lessons that I've learned in the process. To begin, I'll start off with my first money-making venture, which almost got me kicked out of school. I don't actually consider this a failed venture, but left unchecked, it could have taken me down a dark path. So when I was 12 years old and in my first year of high school, a candy necklace craze took over because everyone figured out that if you put one of the candy beads in your mouth, pulled the elastic string tight and then bit down, the other half would turn into a sniper bullet. For a little while it was just pandemonium. The kids would just be shooting each other with these little sugar bullets in the classrooms, and even the teachers weren't safe. Sometimes if the teacher turned around and was writing on the chalkboard, some of the more unruly kids would ping the sweets at the back of the teacher's head. So unsurprisingly, the school ended up reaching out to all of the local shops in the area and told them that they had to stop selling these little candy necklaces. I saw an opportunity here and decided to order a bulk box of the candy necklaces off eBay, and for the next little while I would go into school and basically sell them for 5, 10 and sometimes even 20 times the price that I paid for them. And from this I actually managed to make enough money to buy one of the very first iPod Nanos, which I'm sure all of my fellow pensioners will remember. Eventually someone snitched on me, and the head of my year told me that if I didn't stop selling the necklaces, I would get suspended for persistent disobedience. I decided to stop, so I guess this booming business did end up failing in that regard, but the alternative was getting suspended and possibly falling into a life of crime. The lesson learned here, looking on the bright side, is that I think this experience of making money and sort of feeling excited about making money for myself by doing something a bit different has kind of stuck with me ever since. But on the flip side, I think it's a bit shit that the school punished my entrepreneurship. I'm trying to think of a funny way to tell you about this next venture, but I'm struggling because every time I think of it, I just feel kind of embarrassed about what a bad money-making venture it ended up being. I've always quite liked baking, so when I was about 19 I decided to start up my own cake business where I would sell cakes to local businesses, I would make people birthday cakes, and I even got a stall at a local's farmer's market. In total, in the very short lifespan of this business, I think I sold about 5 birthday cakes, a couple of boxes of cupcakes to some local cafes, and I did one day at the farmer's market stall. I'm not one to give up on things very easily, but I gave up on this very quickly because I just underestimated how difficult and how stressful it was to run this kind of thing. And of all my money-making ventures that I've done over the years, trying to write happy birthday in cursive using melted chocolate is definitely something that haunts me to this day. Okay. In 2015, having never even grown a mustache in my life, I decided that the next logical, obvious step in my journey was to start a beard oil company. I called it Beard Box. This was the logo, actually quite good. It looks like a beard and a box. The idea I had was that I would make little wooden boxes, and inside them I would put a beard oil, a beard shampoo, a beard comb, and some beard scissors, just kind of as a beard gift pack that people could give to bearded people for their birthdays and Christmas. To get started, I just focused on the beard oil and the beard combs. I didn't know how to make beard oil, so I did something called white labeling, which is where you pay another company to make the product, then they send it to you and you kind of do the branding. You put your own label on it and just sell it for a profit. So I bought a huge 5-litre jug of beard oil from a cosmetics company in England, and then I decanted that into hundreds of little bottles that I'd bought from China. I then added my labels to them and tried to sell them on Amazon. At the same time, I also ordered 500 wooden combs from China with the Beard Box logo lasered onto them. Obviously, because I'm telling you this story on a video about my failures, this venture did not end up going well. I found that to cover my costs, I would have to charge more than the other well-established beard oil companies on Amazon who had thousands of good reviews, and obviously no one wanted to buy from me, because why would they pay more for my product from my brand, which they'd never heard of and which had no good reviews? So I ended up just moving from Amazon to eBay and undercutting the lowest priced beard oils over there. Now, I made no profit from doing that, but I just wanted to get rid of the beard oils and the beard combs, because having them stacked up in the corner of my bedroom was just starting to haunt me, and I'd kind of realised by this point that the idea wasn't a good one. So despite everything going poorly with this beard venture, I decided to have one more roll of the dice and get into the beard birthday card niche. So I paid a designer in Chile $400 to do this design, and I never ended up doing anything with it. So that was just another $400 down the drain. As naive as it is, the lesson learned here was the importance of market research. I think if I'd sat down with a spreadsheet and figured out the costs to buy all of the stuff I needed and then the price that I needed to sell it at, I would have quickly realised that it was just a daft idea and wouldn't have started this very strange business. 2 years later, in 2017, I stumbled across a story about a guy who was running a successful eBay store selling pre-owned jeans, and he was doing this in his spare time and making upwards of £20,000 a year, which I thought was pretty good. I started doing some research about how I could get into this side hustle, and after some research I found what I thought was the perfect item in this second-hand clothes and accessories niche, and that turned out to be pre-owned wallets and card holders from luxury brands. The reason that the wallets and card holders were a really good item to work with is that they weren't big, so it wasn't like they took up a lot of storage space while I waited for them to sell, and also they were usually very thin and light, which meant that it didn't cost a lot to post them. The way I actually went about this venture is I would scour eBay for wallets that were up for auction, and then I would use a tool called Gixin to win the auctions. The way you use this tool is you set your highest bid days in advance, and it will automatically bid up to that amount for you at the very last second of the auction, so that other people don't have the time to come back and outbid you. Maybe a bit unethical, but it just meant that I didn't have to sit there manually waiting for the auctions to run out and kind of snipe the bids at the last second. Another little trick I used to find hidden gems at great prices was using a website called Fat Fingers. To use this, you just type in the brand or item that you want to search for, and it comes back with all of the misspelt results for this item, which you might not otherwise see if you're searching for the item with the correct spelling. So I'd win these wallets on eBay, get them sent to me, and when they arrived I would take much better pictures, I'd write really informative descriptions, and then I could end up selling them for twice what I paid for them, just by making the whole listing look much more professional. The other good thing here is that I always just reused the packaging that the wallet was sent to me in from the initial seller. So I didn't even have to pay for packaging supplies. It was just all very low cost. Initially things went very well with this, and I was quickly making about £500 profit on the side with not much effort per month. And that made me think that I was going to get to that £20,000 per year number that the guy selling jeans was. That was until eBay shut down my account. Evidently, fake wallets are a big thing, and apparently all of these big luxury brands employ people to scour eBay and other websites like it, looking for very obvious fakes. Being very naive about all of this and not actually knowing what to look for, I had apparently bought a few wallets and was trying to resell them, so I got shut down. This experience was a bit reminiscent of my candy necklace endeavour, in that I didn't want to restart it again in case I ended up in jail. Despite the downfall of this venture, it was very useful in helping me understand and appreciate how to do the logistical side of a physical product business correctly. When you hear about people starting their own physical product business, two of the things that you frequently hear about them struggling with are storage space and fulfillment and postage costs. Having that first-hand experience of these two things going well for me, I think has been really valuable, because if I got into something like this again in the future, but legally, it's something that I would consider and prioritize and kind of know how to deal with from the get-go. Moving on, we have ventures which weren't quite failures, but just looking back with hindsight, I could have done much more with. In this category, I'm going to include the Instagram pages that I built up to as much as 500,000 followers before selling them. I have done a video in the past speaking about this topic, sharing how I managed to sell one of these pages for $25,000. I also just had way more hair back then apparently, and I'm very happy with how that all turned out, but just with hindsight now, I'm realizing what I could have done to make a lot more with those pages if I'd been a little bit smarter. The reason I sold these pages was because at the time they were taking up a lot of my time and I just wasn't making any money with them. I just wasn't very smart about that kind of thing. I didn't know how to get sponsorships, and I couldn't think of a product that I could make and sell to my audience that were viewing my posts every week. Now obviously with hindsight, I do know what I would have done, because back then I was always getting messages from people asking, how do you grow such a big Instagram page? And knowing what I know now about how to build digital products, what I would do going back if I was in that position now is I would have built a course, a mini course about how to build an Instagram audience to huge numbers, because that was something that I was clearly good at the time. At the time, on the biggest page I had 500,000 followers. I was getting like 10 million views a week on my posts. So I don't think it's outlandish to say that if I made a course for $50 and tried to sort of promote it on the page, that 50 people a month would buy it. And if I'd done that, I could have made easily $30,000 a year. And from that, I could have hired someone else to actually help with the workload. From then, I could have taken a step back and pretty much just let this run as a pretty passive income source. And obviously, this is a lesson that I've learned in hindsight, knowing what I know now about digital products and my own experience of hiring help when I need it. I think it's fair to say that YouTube is something that I'm doing okay with now, but that certainly wasn't always the case. I started YouTube back in 2009, and over the years I've had a lot of failed channels and I've had a good few successful channels. Looking at the channels that have worked, I would say that over the years there's a pretty common denominator in that the channels that did well were always on topics and about things which I actually enjoyed and was interested in. And on the flip side, the channels which didn't work out, and to kind of expand, the businesses which didn't work out that I've mentioned in this video, they were always things that I was either not that interested in, didn't really enjoy, or they weren't legal. And I think that is a big takeaway that I've gotten from all of the things that I've done over the years. If you don't enjoy the process, then you're probably not going to get the results. I've made that mistake countless times over the years by just looking at the results that someone else is getting and completely overlooking the process, which is pretty much the entire thing of running a business or pursuing a money-making idea. I do think failure is a very good thing. I think it's the quickest way to learn, and that's why I wanted to make this video. There are plenty of quotes from very famous people which echo that sentiment. Some good ones include this one by Henry Ford, which is failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently, and this one by Einstein, which is failure is success in progress. If you're happy to, leave a comment below, let me know your biggest failure and what you've learned from it. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate you leaving a like and subscribing for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.